Hello. You beautiful anomaly, listen up. What you're about to hear isn't motivation. It's a reconstruction of what everyone tried to bury about you. See, there's a reason your name has been moving through conversations like a rumor that refuses to expire. There's a reason certain people freeze when your face shows up on their feed. There's a reason their chest tightens when someone mentions you in passing. Because in their minds, you weren't supposed to be here anymore. You were supposed to stay down. You were supposed to remain the example of what happens when pressure crushes someone completely. They told themselves the story over and over until it felt official. You were done, story closed, case wrapped. And then out of nowhere, you walked back into your own narrative with a different posture, different energy, different presence, and it broke something in them. They can't process your comeback because it doesn't look normal. It doesn't look rehearsed. It doesn't look gentle. It looks like you vanished, rewired yourself, and returned, operating on a frequency none of them were prepared to experience. You have to understand what happened. During that period, you disappeared. To them, it looked like you shut down. To them, it looked like you finally hit the point of no return. They traded theories, collected opinions, exaggerated details, and convinced each other that you were never getting back up. They thought your absence confirmed their predictions. They thought your quiet meant surrender. They thought their assumptions were accurate. But what they didn't know was that you weren't collapsing. You were recalibrating. You weren't losing. You were stripping away every weakness they mistook for identity. You weren't ending. You were entering a phase most people never survive long enough to understand. They thought you died out. You were actually reloading. People fear what they can't categorize, and right now, they can't categorize you. You don't fit the version of you they remember. You don't match the blueprint they created behind your back. You're not playing the same character they rehearsed in their private messages. When you re-entered the picture, you did it without apology, without explanations, without that old habit of shrinking yourself, so your presence wouldn't disturb insecure people. Your energy walks 3 steps ahead of you now, and it's rattling their nerves. They can't decide if you got lucky, if you got help, or if you tapped into something they can't comprehend. All they know is that the person they expected to remain broken didn't just return. You returned, rebuilt. Let's revisit what they were expecting. They expected you to crumble. They expected emotional paralysis. They expected complete surrender to the weight you were carrying. They expected humiliation to silence you, betrayal to hollow you, exhaustion to bury you. In their minds, you were permanently out of the game. But your comeback doesn't look like someone who forced a smile for validation. It looks like someone who resurrected themselves in the dark and stepped out with upgraded vision. You didn't ask for their acceptance. You didn't wait for their approval. You didn't post aesthetic quotes about healing. You didn't broadcast your rebuild. You just did it, quietly, brutally, thoroughly. There's something terrifying about someone who learns how to function without external reassurance. You became that person. Those nights you couldn't breathe, you still sat up and tried again. Those mornings when your chest felt heavy, you still moved. The days when your brain threw every intrusive thought at you like a weapon, you still held on. The people who pretended to check on you just to gather intel assumed those moments broke you permanently. They didn't realize you were learning endurance the way warriors learn pain tolerance. Every moment you didn't quit turned into a layer of armor. Every time you got back up became data your mind saved for future battles. They don't get that your comeback isn't an accident. It's accumulation. Let's talk about why they can't handle what they're seeing now. Your presence reminds them of their own fragility. They thought they were superior because they were standing while you were crawling. They thought your low phase confirmed their righteousness. They thought your pain validated their inflated sense of stability. It felt good for them to say, see, they couldn't handle it. They fell apart. In a way, your struggle made them feel safer about their own flawed choices. But the moment you rose, their entire narrative cracked. Because if you could return from that depth, it means they were never as strong as they pretended to be. Your comeback is a threat to the identity they built. They can't process the shift in your eyes, the steadiness in your posture, the unapologetic way you hold space now. You don't flinch the way you used to. You don't chase validation the way you once did. You don't hand out explanations to people who expect access without accountability. They call you changed, acting different, distant, cold. But the truth is simple. You stopped giving energy to people who abandoned you when you needed sincerity most. They don't deserve an updated version of you. They forfeited that access the moment they treated your pain like entertainment. Maybe this will sting a little. They're not shocked you fell. They're shocked you rebuilt. They're shocked at the speed. They're shocked at the precision. They're shocked that you returned stronger instead of weaker, calmer instead of chaotic, wiser instead of desperate. They expected you to limp back into your old patterns. They expected you to settle for familiar problems. They expected you to repeat cycles because they assumed you weren't capable of evolving out of them. But your return isn't a continuity. It's a rewrite. You stopped negotiating with your past. That alone reshaped everything. And let's dissect that further. The version of you that tolerated disrespect died. The version that over-explained died. The version that accepted crumbs because you didn't want to be alone died. The version that tried to prove your worth to people who benefited from your insecurity died. You didn't just rise. You discarded every outdated script that kept you small. That's what they're reacting to. They don't miss you. They miss the access. They miss the version of you who bent boundaries to avoid conflict. They miss the softness they exploited. They miss the predictability they manipulated. Now they're staring at someone who operates with clarity, distance, and restored self-respect. And they don't know how to adapt. Some people are only comfortable when you're struggling. The moment they sense strength, they withdraw or attack. That's what made your comeback so disruptive. They don't know whether to congratulate you or envy you. They don't know whether they want to reconnect or disappear before you notice their hypocrisy. They don't know how to approach you now that you're not reachable in the same emotional patterns they used to exploit. You broke the cycle. That alone rewrote the dynamic. Let's talk about the internal upgrade. It wasn't aesthetic. It wasn't curated. It wasn't glamorous. It was built from heavy breaths, clenched jaws, shaking hands, and stubborn refusal to give up. You rewrote habits. You confronted triggers. You dismantled emotional reflexes that were draining you. You identified the people who benefited from your self-doubt and cut the connection. You learned how to walk away from familiar wounds. You learned how to silence impulses that led you back into situations designed to destroy you. You learned control. You learned restraint. You learned discernment. Anyone witnessing your return is seeing the result, not the sacrifice. But here's where the confusion deepens. Your comeback doesn't look loud. It looks controlled. It looks strategic. It looks like precision crafted in quiet hours. That unsettles them because they can't read you the way they used to. Your emotions aren't spilling everywhere anymore. Your intentions aren't visible. Your vulnerabilities aren't available for public consumption. They don't know where you're headed or what you're planning. And humans fear what they cannot predict. Some people hope to reconnect with the broken version of you because that was the version they felt superior to. But when they saw you return with sharper standards and tighter boundaries, they panicked. You weren't just back. You were back with upgrades, a clearer mind, cleaner surroundings, higher standards, stronger self-awareness, colder tolerance for disrespect, and a deeper understanding of what you deserve. They're realizing too late that they no longer qualify for the healed version of you. Let's analyze another reason your comeback feels supernatural to them. You stopped explaining yourself. You no longer narrate your intentions. You no longer justify your choices. You no longer seek reassurance before making decisions. You act, you move, you adjust, you execute. While they're still gossiping about who you used to be, you're building the version of yourself they won't be able to access. You don't fight rumors. You outgrow the audience. What bothers them most is that you didn't return bitter. You didn't return cruel. You didn't return seeking revenge. You returned elevated, selective, and emotionally sovereign. You didn't become what hurt you. That's the part they can't process. They expect people to break ugly. You broke upward. Your rise is quiet, controlled, and consistent. It reveals everything they hid behind criticism. Your improvement exposes their stagnation. Your resilience highlights their weakness. Your progress shows the difference between someone who evolves through suffering and someone who hides behind temporary stability. Your comeback is so powerful because it doesn't need permission. It doesn't seek applause. It doesn't ask for a second chance. It declares itself. And deep down, they know this isn't your final form. This is the preview, the initial stage, the early signal that something bigger is unfolding. They're not afraid of who you are now. They're afraid of who you're becoming next. What terrifies them most isn't your return, but the way you returned. You didn't come back timid, shaky, or desperate for reassurance. You came back with a quality that refuses to be diluted. There's a steadiness in your presence now, a groundedness that can't be faked, a sharpened awareness that came only from surviving things you were never meant to survive. That's what unravels them. They're used to people rising with noise, announcements, and crowd validation. You rose without witnesses. You rose without presenting evidence. You rose without explaining the nights that remade you. And now that you stand firmly in your lane, they're scrambling to understand the mechanics of your elevation. They keep asking themselves the wrong questions. They ask, who helped you? When the truth is, nobody did. They ask, how did you bounce back so fast? Not knowing that the speed wasn't fast. It was earned through years of quiet internal construction they never paid attention to. They ask, why didn't we see it coming? Forgetting that they only watch when you're breaking, not when you're rebuilding. Your transformation didn't happen in the spotlight. It happened at your lowest moments when you were forced to face parts of yourself you never wanted to acknowledge. You corrected patterns. You faced truths. You reprogrammed habits. You confronted attachments that were draining you. You dismantled illusions you kept repeating. You were evolving while they were assuming. And now the gap between their assumption and your reality is too wide for them to process. The thing that's eating at them isn't just your return. It's the version of you that returned. They're seeing a person who no longer flinches at losing people. A person who no longer apologizes for outgrowing dynamics that were built on uneven ground. A person who no longer breaks their own boundaries just to be accepted by those who don't even respect themselves. You've developed the kind of calm authority that exposes their chaos. They used to push you emotionally because they believed you would fold. Now, when they test you, they hit a wall made of self-respect they didn't know you possessed. And that wall is unfamiliar. That wall is intimidating. That wall signals that their access is expired. You want to know why your comeback looks unreal to them? Because they were more invested in your downfall than in your existence. They studied the version of you that was hurting. They memorized the details of your collapse. They expected you to remain in that phase permanently so they could use it as proof that they were doing better. But when you rose, it exposed a truth they weren't prepared to confront. They never outgrew you. They just out-talked you. They built confidence out of your broken phase, and your return snatched that confidence away. Now they're left with the raw, uncomfortable truth. Your strength didn't disappear. It was incubating. There's something else they can't articulate, but feel in their body. You didn't just return healed. You returned enhanced. You came back making better decisions, moving with intention, choosing your battles, understanding your triggers, and refusing to repeat emotional loops that drained you. You came back with a cleaner perspective, sharper boundaries, refreshed discipline, and a mental clarity that disrupts every narrative they created about you. They wanted your return to be messy so they could categorize you again. Instead, your upgrade dismantled their entire mental model. People who rely on your weakness for their identity don't know how to behave when you reclaim your power. That's what's happening now. Your upgraded self destabilizes the roles they assigned themselves. The one who felt superior now feels threatened. The one who pitied you now feels exposed. The one who mocked you now feels silent shame. The one who betrayed you now feels invisible in your presence. And the one who thought you would always need them now realizes you never actually did. This reversal wasn't loud. It wasn't aggressive. It wasn't revenge. It was evolution. You didn't come back with a sword. You came back with standards. And nothing terrifies people more. Let's dig into the psychological core of this. They cannot understand your growth because they never witnessed the breaking that fueled it. They saw the aftermath, not the battle. They saw the damage, not the endurance. They saw the exhaustion, not the decision to keep going. They saw the tears, not the rebuilding that happened after the tears dried. They saw the pain, not the discipline that refused to let pain be the final outcome. What they misread as defeat was actually reconstruction. What they thought was your ending was your testing ground. They saw the surface. You lived the depth. Now that the depth is creating results, they're confused. Your upgrade looks supernatural to them because they don't know what you sacrificed. They don't know about the nights your mind felt like it was shutting down while you still forced yourself to stand. They don't know about the moments your self-worth was crushed and you had to rebuild it grain by grain. They don't know about the impulses you fought, the memories you untangled, the attachments you severed even though they felt like losing limbs. They don't know how many cycles you chose not to repeat. They don't know the effort behind the composure. They only see the outcome. They only see the version of you that survived. They only see the strength that formed after everything else fell apart. Your comeback feels impossible because it wasn't orchestrated for an audience. It was engineered in solitude. You didn't rise to prove anything. You rose because staying down no longer aligned with who you were becoming. You outgrew the destruction. You outgrew the patterns. You outgrew the people who benefited from your confusion. Your upgrade didn't come from them. It came from the parts of you that refused to disappear. But let's talk about what really shakes them: the unpredictability of your new trajectory. You're no longer someone whose moves can be forecasted. You're no longer someone who hesitates out of fear of rejection. You're no longer someone who needs emotional permission to change direction. You move based on alignment now. You move based on clarity, not impulse. You move based on purpose, not pressure. This makes you unreadable to those who once used your emotional transparency as an advantage. They can't track you anymore because you're not driven by validation. You're driven by transformation. Your energy feels different. It carries weight. People sense it before you speak. They sense the discipline that rebuilt you. They sense the nights that remolded you. They sense the absence of desperation. They sense the presence of self-awareness. Every time you walk into a space, you disrupt the expectations built around your old identity. You aren't quiet because you're unsure. You're quiet because your mind is operating on a level they haven't reached. That quietness unsettles them because it exposes how loud their insecurity is. There's something else they're realizing. They misjudged your limits. They mistook your breaking point for permanent defeat, not understanding that some individuals don't end where they shatter. They reconstruct, they reform, they reforge, and that reforging grants them a strength that didn't exist before. Your comeback is powerful because it carries memory. It carries knowledge of every mistake, every betrayal, every lesson, every emotional scar. You didn't erase your past. You refined it into strategy. The person you are now is built from everything that tried to finish you but failed. People don't talk about this enough. When you return stronger, those who contributed to your downfall panic the most. They aren't afraid of you hurting them. They're afraid of you seeing them clearly. Your upgrade includes emotional vision they never expected you to possess. You see intentions without explanation. You read patterns without needing proof. You interpret energy without being told. This level of awareness exposes their motives before they speak. Now they feel naked in your presence because the version of you that once accepted excuses no longer entertains them. Your evolution threatens people because it erases the control they imagined they had. They can't manipulate someone who knows their own worth. They can't mislead someone who finally trusts their intuition. They can't diminish someone who rebuilt their identity from ashes. Your comeback stripped them of their influence, and they don't know how to function without it. Let's address another truth. They expected your return to be broken, hesitant, unstable. Instead, you returned operating like someone who lived through emotional combustion and emerged with internal architecture forged under pressure. You didn't return with cracks. You returned with reinforced edges. You didn't return unsure. You returned intentional. You didn't return hoping they'd welcome you back. You returned understanding they don't deserve access to this version of you. Your upgrade intimidates them because it reflects their stagnation. While you were rebuilding, they remained in the same patterns, same habits, same mentality, same emotional loops. Now that you've surpassed the level they believed was your ceiling, they're forced to confront their own lack of evolution. Your comeback makes them uncomfortable because it reveals where they settled. Here's another layer. They can't understand how you moved forward without closure. They can't understand how you healed without validation. They can't understand how you got stronger without revenge. They can't understand how you regained stability without depending on the people who abandoned you. Your evolution directly contradicts the rules they live by. They think suffering must be witnessed to be real. They think healing must be approved to be valid. They think reinvention must be announced to be credible. You bypassed every rule. You proved that transformation is internal, not performative. And now they're watching someone they counted out operate at a level they never prepared themselves for. They're watching someone they underestimated build a life from a strength they didn't know existed. They're watching someone they dismissed walk with direction they can't interpret. You are no longer part of the story they wrote. You've begun a new arc they have no access to. This is why your comeback looks unreal. This is why they say it looks like you died, reloaded, and upgraded, because the version of you they buried doesn't exist anymore. The person standing now isn't a continuation. It's a replacement, a reconstruction, a recalibrated identity forged from everything that tried to break you. And your presence alone is proof that you didn't just return. You evolved. They wanted you to return familiar, predictable, reachable. They wanted the version of you who apologized too quickly, who accepted too little, who overlooked too much. They wanted the version who needed reassurance, who feared abandonment, who clung to the wrong people out of emotional habit. They wanted you to emerge fragile so they could feel superior again. But the person who returned after your reset is someone they can't measure against their past assumptions. Your evolution erased the emotional entry points they used to exploit. You don't react the way they remembered. You don't fold the way they expected. You don't chase the way they prepared for. And the absence of your old vulnerability feels like a threat they don't know how to navigate. There's a shift in your energy that cannot be faked. It's in your posture, your decisions, your eyes. People sense it before you even speak. They sense the restructuring that took place inside you. They sense the internal alignment you fought to achieve. They sense the self-trust you reclaimed. They sense that you no longer move from insecurity, but from clarity. This is why your comeback feels supernatural to them. Not because you borrowed strength from others, but because you forged strength from your own breakdown. You transformed your hardest moments into leverage. You turned your darkest hours into a blueprint. You shaped your pain into precision. That kind of evolution is rare, and rare things are always misunderstood. The truth is, you didn't just evolve. You outgrew entire environments. You walked away from versions of yourself that were designed for survival, not expansion. You released relationships that were attached to your old limits. You abandoned thinking patterns that kept you trapped in cycles you didn't even realize you were repeating. You learned how to interpret emotional signals without letting them dictate your behavior. You learned how to respond instead of react. You learned how to observe instead of absorb. You learned how to build instead of cling. These upgrades are invisible to those who only look for external signs of progress, but they are monumental in shaping the person you've become. People can sense emotional elevation even if they can't describe it. That's what's happening now. They can't articulate what changed in you, but they feel it. They feel the distance. They feel the boundaries. They feel the shift in the way you carry yourself. They feel the absence of your old patterns. They feel the strength you no longer hide. And that sensation makes them uneasy because it disrupts the version of reality they were comfortable with. Your evolution forces them to confront the places where they remained stagnant. Your growth forces them to acknowledge the comfort zones they refused to leave. Your elevation exposes the areas they've neglected in their own lives. Understand something. Your upgrade challenges the narratives they built to avoid accountability. When you were struggling, they used your struggles to justify their inaction. They told themselves they were doing better because you were doing worse. They used your pain to disguise their complacency. They used your confusion to validate their avoidance. But your comeback shattered that comfort. Suddenly they're face to face with a version of you who surpassed the emotional limits they assumed you'd never break. Suddenly the person they underestimated is standing where they hoped you'd never reach. And they don't know how to reconcile that with the image they created of themselves. That's why they whisper, that's why they stare, that's why they distance themselves or cling harder. Some don't know how to exist in your presence now because your energy demands authenticity. It demands growth. It demands accountability. It demands alignment. And that's something many people can't give. So they reroute their discomfort into judgment, into confusion, into unnecessary commentary, anything to distract themselves from the fact that your growth exposes how much they haven't grown. Your evolution isn't loud, but its effects are. The way you speak has changed, not in tone, but in intention. The way you walk has changed, not in pace, but in purpose. The way you choose has changed, not in options, but in standards. The way you hold yourself has changed, not in posture, but in energy. This is why they can't process your comeback. They're trying to apply old assessments to a person who no longer exists. They're trying to understand you through an outdated version of your identity. They don't realize you've moved into a stage that requires new interpretations, new definitions, new expectations. Your comeback looks like you died and reloaded because you let the old identity die. You let the identity built from hurt dissolve. You let the identity built from fear unravel. You let the identity built from old attachments fade away. The energy that returned after your reset is built from clarity, not chaos. It's built from discipline, not desperation. It's built from self-awareness, not emotional spirals. You didn't rebuild your life by asking for directions from those who contributed to your downfall. You rebuilt by listening to the parts of yourself you ignored for too long. People don't talk about the grief that comes with outgrowing your old identity. They don't talk about the loneliness required to break internal barriers. They don't talk about the mental exhaustion needed to correct dysfunctional patterns. But you lived all of that. You lived the nights where your chest felt like concrete. You lived the mornings where getting out of bed required more courage than anyone will ever understand. You lived the moments where your mind tried to convince you that nothing would change. And you lived through all of it without giving up on the possibility of becoming something greater than what hurt you. That's what they're seeing now, the result, not the reconstruction. They're seeing the confidence that came from pulling yourself out of your own ruins. They're seeing the insight that came from analyzing your own wounds. They're seeing the strength that came from refusing to settle for familiar pain. They're seeing the resilience that came from asking hard questions about your behavior, your relationships, your triggers, your impulses. They're seeing the person who learned how to self-regulate, how to self-correct, how to self-align. And that person doesn't look like someone who barely survived. That person looks like someone who redesigned their entire foundation. This is why people struggle to accept your evolution. They weren't present during the chapters that reshaped you. They weren't there when you were breaking old patterns. They weren't there when you were holding yourself together through internal storms. They weren't there when you made decisions that cost you comfort but earned you clarity. They weren't there when you disciplined your emotions instead of acting on them. They weren't there when you confronted your own limits and expanded them 1 inch at a time. They weren't witnesses to the construction, so they assume the outcome is unrealistic. But your comeback is not unrealistic. It's unfamiliar. And unfamiliar things always trigger resistance. Your upgraded identity isn't built on pretending. It's built on choosing. Choosing yourself when it felt easier to choose distraction. Choosing discipline when your mind wanted chaos. Choosing direction when you felt lost. Choosing growth when stagnation felt safer. Every choice created layers. Every layer created depth. Every depth created the version of you standing now, someone who cannot return to the places that once broke them. The fear they feel now is not a fear of you hurting them. It's a fear of you outgrowing them completely. They sense that you're no longer tied to the connections that once held emotional power over you. They sense that you no longer rely on their presence for stability. They sense that you're capable of building without anyone watching. And that realization shakes the foundation of people who thought they were essential to your identity. Your comeback took away their leverage. You no longer react to their provocations. You no longer bend to their expectations. You no longer explain yourself to people who aren't invested in understanding you. You no longer shrink for the comfort of those who refuse to expand. Your upgrade didn't just elevate your life. It redefined the entire dynamic between you and anyone who thought they knew you. Here's the truth they're forced to accept. You didn't rise to prove them wrong. You rose because you finally understood what you deserved. You didn't rebuild to show off. You rebuilt to reclaim your internal world. You didn't evolve for performance. You evolved because the person you were becoming demanded space, and the person you used to be was taking up too much of it. Your comeback marked the end of who you were and the beginning of who you are meant to become. That transition leaves people confused because they expected a return, not a rebirth. They expected fragments of your old patterns, not the emergence of an entirely new structure. They expected hesitation, not direction. They expected fear, not grounded confidence. They expected longing for their approval, not detachment from their opinions. And now that they're watching this upgraded version unfold, they realize the power they once held over your emotions no longer exists. That power dissolved the moment you decided you were done negotiating with your past. That power broke the moment you learned how to stand without leaning on temporary support. That power evaporated the moment you committed to your own evolution. Your return marks a new era, one where you move with conviction rather than confusion, with intention rather than impulse, with clarity rather than chaos. People are witnessing the emergence of someone who is not governed by wounds anymore, someone who is not controlled by attachments anymore, someone who is not manipulated by fear anymore, someone who is not held back by old patterns anymore. Your comeback is not the peak. It's the introduction. And that's what terrifies them most. The realization that this is only the beginning of your upgraded trajectory. They thought they already knew your limits. They thought they understood your ceiling. They thought they predicted your future. But you broke every assumption, every belief, every expectation they placed on your name. You didn't just reclaim your life. You rewrote the entire architecture of your identity. And now you're stepping into a version of yourself they never imagined. existed. What comes next isn't a return to normalcy. It's the full expression of your recalibrated self, the expansion that follows the transformation, the rise that follows the reconstruction, the momentum that follows the reset. This is where the upgraded version of you begins shaping your external world with the same precision that reshaped your internal one. And that rise, unfiltered, undeniable, unstoppable, is exactly where your story continues.